Awesome. I think we're good. Anne should be joining us here in just a minute. So everyone, as you're jumping in, we started a few minutes early. And so we're just going to kind of hang out and chat about some different things. And then we will start promptly in about, I believe we start what, in 20 minutes? Is that correct, Dana? I believe in 20
That's
minutes.
about right. Yeah.
And
Yep.
I started live streaming it early, so I guess I'm just gonna go with it. Apparently, that's what Source wanted, was for us to get started early. But we're gonna start the actual interview, and this amazing, going through this amazing story so you can hear Dana's story. We're gonna start that promptly in 20 minutes. But everybody jump in. If you haven't jumped in yet, to say hello and where you're from. Hit the chat icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Um,
Wisconsin.
I
Almost.
know.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And if you're joining us from YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, come on in and say hello. We will definitely be checking those chats as well. But uh, how many of you? Let me ask a question. We'll just see if you guys are in the chat. If you got your little chat box open, how many of you are on the East Coast of the U.S.? Put a one in the chat box. If you're on the East Coast of the U.S. or Canada, anyone? How about West Coast? Put a one in the chat box. Let's see what we've got here. Midwest. Yes, Germany. There we go. Perfect. Touching Chicago. So we have a few kind of in the middle there. How is the weather over there? Um, I know in Utah and Colorado up in the mountains, we're getting these last episodes of like big snow, like 12 inches, 15 inches, 18 inches of snow. And I love the snow, but I'm ready for the spring. How about you guys? Glenda, you're in Las Vegas. Welcome. It's so good to have you on with us. Perfect. All right. I want to go ahead also and open up. We don't normally get to do this because we don't normally accidentally start so early. But do you have any questions? Have you been following us for a while at Modern Holistic Health? Have you watched any of the master classes? Do you have any questions? We don't normally open up for Q&A during these live podcast shows that we do. But hey, we're on early. So I figured, you know what? If you got a question, jump in. Yes, yes, no. Yeah, jump in and ask a question if you've got one. So you have been following us. Awesome. You've seen the masterclass. Yes. You don't have any questions. Perfect. That makes it easy. I love the efficiency of the way you answer that. That's pretty funny. And Dana, where are you living right now?
Oh, I am living in Northeast Texas.
Are you in
Very,
Texas?
yes, very, very hot up here.
Is it already hot?
Yes, I don't, let me see how hot it is if my phone is gonna tell me. I just walked from my meeting to my little hotel and I was sweating from one end to another. Right now it's 85 degrees, but I love it. I love it.
That's pretty warm for the spring, even in Texas.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if that's any indication of what's coming this summer. I'm from Texas.
Ah,
I'm a native Austinite.
all right.
Yeah, I'm a native Texan too, and I grew up hunting with my father, so I was raised by my dad. And I grew up hunting with him and camping with him and riding horses with him and learning how to build a fire with flint rock and doing all the things that little boys do. But I grew up in that heat, and it just got to be a little much for me after a while. And we moved out of Texas in 2018, um, up to Colorado, up to the mountains to get away from the heat, and then we came back um, to Texas for a short stint during the craziness of the pandemic, and we hung out with our like-minded people when it was just easier to find them in Texas. And then when things calmed back down, I hightailed it back out of there because it's just so hot. It's hard for me to be outdoors and enjoy all of the things that I love to do outside. But I want to welcome you to come up and visit us up in Park City. We're up in Park City now, up
That's
in the
awesome.
mountains. And so if you want to come up and visit, you have an open invitation.
Thank you. Same back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, honestly, the only times I'll go back to Texas is in the winter time now. I'm not gonna do that I'm not gonna do that in the summer anymore. It's too hot for me.
Right. And, winters are beautiful here, but they can be a handful as well.
Yes, they can. They can. When the how many of you were familiar when the what did they even call it? The big like snowmageddon or whatever wintermageddon happened in Texas. Wasn't that in 2020 or 2021?
Oh, we had like a
I think
freeze rain
it was
and
in
it was,
21, wasn't it?
I don't know. It looks like we have one every year.
That was the worst one though, and I was born and raised in
Yes,
Texas. That's the worst one we've ever seen. Like it was like that for days. Like the ice and the snow were thick for days, and so
right.
many people lost power. We had people who died, and Greg and I jumped. So all of the highways were closed for days. You remember
Mhm.
that, right? All the highways were closed. Well, my husband, he's from the Midwest. Hail to the people from the Midwest who know how to drive in ice and snow like that. So he's a Michigander. He's from Michigan, and we had spoken to my mother. I had been following up with her. She's in San Antonio, and we had been following up with her to make sure she was okay. They were losing power over there, and the house was getting cold. But when the power would come back on, she would make sure that the heat was blasting to try to get some heat back up in the house. And then eventually, I couldn't get a hold of her. And I just knew that something was going on. And I told Greg, I'm going to wait until 7 p.m. tonight. And if I don't hear from my mother, I know that the electricity never came back on for her to charge her phone or call me from
Mm.
her landline. And sure enough, like 7 o'clock came. And I just knew we had to go and get my mother. So we have a 4Runner with Colorado tires, mountain tires, and we jumped on the road. And it normally would take us about an hour and a half to get to my mother. It took us almost 4 hours to get there because of the
Oh,
ice and the
yeah.
barricades in the road and everything. But we finally made it down there, and I'm knocking on the door, hoping she wouldn't have a heart attack in the middle of the night. Mom, 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 it's me. And I went and knocked on her window, Mom, don't be afraid, it's me. And she answered the door with her blankets on. And I've only seen my mom probably cry once in her life. And she just
Oh,
busted out crying. And she said, I thought I was going to die tonight. She said, I had
oh,
my blankets on my bed and I thought tonight was my last night. And it was so cold in that house. It was probably just above freezing in the house.
oh.
It was pretty crazy, but anyway, yeah, that was interesting cold weather in Texas that we don't normally get.
Our horses had ice pin on their coats, and
Oh,
I had pictures of them, and they were running to get themselves warm up. So it was quite a show. And I think we had like 22 degrees Fahrenheit, and which is pretty bad for Texas. And there were so many birds trapped underneath the snow, dead. And the one that they were not trapped, I mean, I was feeding them massive amount of bird food. Thank goodness I had some. And then I went to my chickens and got more food to throw to them. But yeah,
oh
it was pretty
no.
cold.
It was pretty cold, wasn't it? That was really, really crazy weather, super crazy weather. We don't even get weather like that up in the mountains. That was pretty insane. Well, it looks like we're getting closer to starting. Let me just do another quick Zoom rundown here. And for those of us who are joining us live streaming, we're scheduled to start in about 12 minutes. We jumped on early and got it recording by accident. So we're just going to hang out with you guys until we're ready to start. And I'm super excited about tonight's live podcast show. And I know this for certain is going to be so inspirational to you because Dana has an amazing story. And she is a medical physicist working in the field of oncology who just so happens to have started with us as a client about a year ago. And so we've got some really, really great stuff we're going to be talking about and sharing with you. So I'm really glad that you're here with us. I want you to jump in, all of our new participants that are jumping in now. We have a chat function. So there is a chat icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. I want you to click on that and you'll see a little chat box open up to the right. Jump in and say hello and where you're from. Say hello. I can't wait to hear from you. Jump in and say hi. Super excited to hear from you. We're just so excited to have you here. And Anne, our lead biological practitioner coach, is also joining in on this one because when she found out that Dana was coming to speak tonight,
Aw.
she was like, I'm going to be there. I wouldn't miss this for the world.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Dr. V, and hi, Dana. We're so excited that you're here.
Hi, Ann.
Hi, thank you for agreeing to share your story with everybody. You're such a big inspiration.
Oh, thank you so much for this opportunity. I can I can't say enough about what I feel for you guys because it's nothing, it's a real story and it's nothing prefab or it's true help that you guys gave me to restore myself, and I will forever cheer you guys. And if you need me for any kind of boosting inspiration to others, for sure, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Well, Anne, I was talking with Dana, and we had some of our guests who are our early birds, who are my favorite people, by the way, because I love early birds. So we've just been kind of hanging out, waiting until the actual start time. But they got to hear some of the conversation that I was inviting Dana to come to our practitioners conference. I said, Dana, if you really want to be an advocate for the work that we're doing and you want to share this with the practitioners who we're training and certifying at our practitioners conference this October, like I will fly you in, come on and let's talk about it because, it's always it's one thing for anybody to talk about the work that they do, right? Everybody put a one in the box if you get where I'm going with this. We can all talk about how we're an expert in this or an expert in that. When you start adding case studies to it, that takes it to a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to then hear from the actual people who are those case studies, who have been working with us, that takes it to another level. And then when it's somebody who's in the medical field, like Dana is, she's a medical physicist. She's been working in oncology for 20 years. To me, that just that's like the icing on the cake. If you're going to be doing a presentation and you're going to be doing a conference and you're going to be teaching people your protocols and your approaches and talking to them about putting them through your certification training program, which is a year long, by the way, because we want our doctors and nurses and coaches and practitioners to have their own portfolio of case studies. It's one thing to learn it in a book. It's another thing to actually apply it and do it, and then have the mentorship and do an internship so that after you've worked with your own patients or clients for an entire year, you have your own portfolio of case studies to show, which means that you've been doing the work with them yourself and you're getting positive outcomes, 90% positive outcomes with your patients or your clients. And so I feel like, it's so beautiful. We have a handful of other people who are going to be coming to the conference who are our clients. Some also, we've had nurses, we've had medical doctors, psychotherapists, psychiatrists. We've had all kinds of people coming through our program who are also in the medical field who weren't getting exactly what they needed. Like there was a gap in the care and they
Right.
weren't getting what they needed. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And they're going to be coming to the conference also so that they can speak to the work that we've done. And, of course, we'll be showing, there's their before and after, labs and all of that stuff. So super excited to have you here.
I am very, very blessed to be here, you guys. And then very thankful for everybody that's going to participate to take from their busy lives, because I think this is another chronic disease that all humanity has nowadays. We are so busy anymore. And to find the time to look for solution to get something better for yourself. This is for you or your loved ones. And to take time for that, it becomes a challenge anymore. And we prefer to stay on the back line to suck it all up and get our minds and bodies used with the pain, because you know what, I'm too busy. Well, you know what, we gotta stop that. We gotta make time for ourselves and realize there are solutions out there, and it all depends on you to find them.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you mentioned that, Dana. It reminded me of an article I read yesterday. And for those of you who are trickling in, we haven't started yet. We're just kind of chit-chatting before we get started with Dana. But I read an article yesterday about urgency culture and how that's making people sick, because we're so tuned in, especially here in America. We're so tuned in to everything being really important and having to answer this phone call and respond to this text message and reply to this email. And we're so caught up in that cycle that we're starting to see just how ill that makes people. And when you're talking about stepping back and doing self-care, I think a lot of people are having to learn that for the first time in their life right now, just how important self-care is and disconnection is. I know for you too, Dr. V, we've both been really on this mission to do a lot of self-care in the past couple of years and disconnect. I know for a while you had a hard time 100% disconnecting, and I too have struggled with that. And I think a lot of people find themselves in that position today, and that's one of the things that drives disease.
Yes, completely, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Completely.
Yeah.
And it's a big job. I mean, I think it's a full job to take care of yourself, because we are used to take care of others. And funny enough, I was reading this book, and they say the top people that are prone to cancer are the ones that give too much. Because when you are a giver, a provider for others, you forget about yourself. You forget to stop, to put a line and say, you know what, I need to be taking care of it. And sometimes you might expect others to take care of you, but I'm telling you, I am a provider myself for my family, and I am working nonstop. It's all depends on me to make my own life better. You might make everybody's life around you extraordinary, and that's wonderful. But don't forget about yourself. Really, don't forget about yourself, and go after your heart. Go inside of your heart and figure it out. What do I need? And use your intuition, use your power to seek an answer, because it's there. I promise you, it's there.
Yeah, I feel like, and this is something that Ann and I have talked about, and I actually look forward to getting to speak on stages more about this. And we want to do some, Ann and I have been talking for a couple of years about launching some intimate retreats where we take a group of, 8 women, 10 women, and we do, a 3-day, 4-day retreat with them so we can really go deep on some of these patterns that we've been programmed into. And one of them is, especially as women, it's giving everything that we have where we're left so depleted. It's supposed to be a badge of honor to sacrifice yourself. There's no badge of honor in that. That's going to drive you right into disease. And then, and I know we're going to be touching on this later as one of our takeaway points, but, what happens to you when you give everything you have and you have nothing left to give and then you end up sick? Everything that you didn't want to happen, we as women believe that if we sacrifice everything, then we're not going to be a burden. We just don't want to be a burden. Like, that's such poisonous programming. That's such a patriarchal type of programming, and it's taken women down a really, really dangerous road of, we give everything because we think that's what we're supposed to do. It's been ingrained into our DNA. But at the end of the day, at the end of our lives, when we're losing our lives due to disease, due to whatever, we actually become the burden that we never wanted to be. Because everybody else isn't going to remember the sacrifices we made. All they're going to remember is what's happening now when they have to take care of us because we can't change our own clothes, we can't go to the bathroom, we can't do all these things, and they're spending, $7,000 a month to keep us in a nursing home that smells like, what I'm saying, it smells like death in there. So it's like, as women, and I feel like as men too, a lot of men, they over sacrifice, but women in particular, like, we need to, from my perspective, there's a lot of work we can do around reprogramming these super toxic programs that have been ingrained into our minds and into our bodies and into our DNA for a few hundred years now, that as women, we have to sacrifice everything. We have to sacrifice our education, sacrifice our personal time, sacrifice our health, sacrifice our own opinions and speaking our own truth so that everybody else can shine. I say the heck with that. And we're going to be touching on some of those things tonight, because when we do that, when we don't speak our truth, and when we don't take care of ourselves and put ourselves first, we have nothing left to give. And we're here having a human experience for us, first and foremost. It's for us. It's not for everybody else. And so if we really want to shine light on the world and make the world a better place, we've got to fill our own cup first. With that said, we are officially getting ready to start. So welcome to this episode of our Inner Circle live podcast show. I'm super excited to have you here. We have an amazing guest. And we also have my most favorite co-host, who doesn't get to join me all the time anymore. And she is our lead biological practitioner coach at Modern Holistic Health. And put a 1 in the box if you know Ann. Put a 1 in the box if you know and love Ann. And just in case you don't know Ann, I'll tell you that Ann came to me years and years ago. She was a news reporter for a major news network for 15 years. It was her career. And she came to me pretty sick. And her little girl was just tiny. She's like my grandson's age now. She was a little tiny at the time. She's a teenager now. And I worked with Ann, and it changed Ann's life. And Ann not only became an advocate for the work that we do, she ended up retiring from her career, going back and getting some schooling and some training. And then she came and trained with me for a couple of years. And she is now training other doctors. Ann's not a doctor, and she can run circles around a lot of doctors. She's absolutely amazing. And so I want everyone to give Ann 2s in the chat box, give her lots of love. Because if you come to Modern Holistic Health, you will remember that we're virtual. So all the visits are virtual. But at some point during your transformational journey of healing with us, you will get to meet and you'll get to meet and work with Anne, and I guarantee you, if you don't know her and love her already, you will know her and you will love her because she's absolutely heart-centered and she is amazing. And Anne, we love you and we're glad that you're here on our team. And I never want you to leave. I want you here with us forever. Um, and Anne has been working with Dana. So let me tell you a little bit about Dana. But when Anne heard that Dana was coming on to our live podcast show for this episode, Anne said, I am not missing this for the world. I'm going to be there. And so,
Aw.
yeah. And so let me introduce you to Dana. So Dana is a medical physicist who has been working in the field of oncology for 20 years. In addition to her passion of working in the field of oncology, she's also a stage 2 breast cancer survivor. And so not only does she have experience and expertise from the medical side and the research side, she has personal experience going through a disease process that comes with it a lot of emotional trauma, a lot of physical symptoms and things that can come with cancer. And so she found us through one of our programs. We can talk about that in a minute, which masterclass that you found out about us from. And she ended up wanting to come and work with us. And she's been working with us for quite some time now. And she reached out to us and she said, I want to get on your Inner Circle live podcast show and I want to share my story. So Dana, we are so grateful and so excited to have you here and excited to hear your story tonight. Welcome.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'm just so humble when I got your email that you invited me on your podcast. I was like so super thrilled because I'm a true example of a person that seek more knowledge. If that's, I think it should be in everybody's pocket. In my world, where I come from, working with cancer on an everyday basis, I see it so many times. People, the first step on the clinic is fear, is hopefulness, is a lot of negative feelings. But a lot of that I feel is knowledge, lack of knowledge, so I always like to have a motto: knowledge destroys fear. Knowledge is an antidote of fear, basically. And I always think that fears is a choice. It's a product of our thoughts. And so it's up to us when we get diagnosed with cancer, which way are you going to pick your road to solve your challenges? Are you going to look at cancer with everything negative that cancer brings, or you're going to look at cancer with everything that inspirational brings? Because you all know cancer is such a popular word. I mean, I think it's top 5 most popular word in the world. So to me, working with it on an everyday basis, I see both sides of the story. I've seen extraordinary patients. I have names and stories from back 20 years ago where they inspire me on an everyday basis. And I think this is why I continuously have a hope in me no matter what happens in my life, because I see these patients. I see how strong they are. And then yet I see the other side of the cancer. Patients are very fragile, very shattered by the diagnosis. And I want to help out. This is what my mission is: to help out, to inspire, and mostly to bring the knowledge if I can. So I am a founder of a support group in my little rural community, and we try to bring them back to believe that it's possible, because we don't know the end. This is one thing that we do not know. So for whatever we have left, make the best out of it. Make it count every day. Make it count and act like you are already healed. And that's the way I want to believe about myself.
Yes. So let me ask you a question. What you just said, believe that you already are. We teach that in our mind body energy program when we're working with teaching people how to reprogram the negative programming in their mind, the negative thought patterns, the negative belief systems, how to purge stuck emotions and trauma in their body. Is that something that you learned previous to coming to Mind Body Energy program with us, or did that understanding that you already had just get deepened with the work that you did with us?
I think it's also based on the nature of your human being, who you are.
Mhm.
I always, no matter what happened in my life, I always look at the positive side. This is me. This is, somebody always kind of tease me. It's like, do you ever get mad? Oh, yeah, I can get mad for sure. But I always like to have a big old smile on my face, because you do not know, if you smile to somebody, how that smile impacts that person. You do not know what that person goes through that minute. And by just being looking in his eyes or her eyes and give her a big smile, you might make her day. So I know the power of being positive. And I'm a physicist, okay? I'm a scientist, and physicists are working into this energy space constantly. And we humans are an energetic system. And we all are very familiar with positive energy, negative energy. And I feel that if you surround yourself with positivity, you seek positivity, you look at things in a positive way, it's almost like a mirror, like a reflection. You send it out, you are this antenna, but you also receive back. So you send a positivity thing out, it will come back to you at power infinity, maybe. So continue, no matter what you go through, continue to be positive. And I have so many patients, and I feel that I'm one of them too, because I said that with completely out of the deepest of my heart. Cancer was the best thing in my life. And I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody out there that goes through cancer. But when I got the diagnosis, it was way before it was official because of the nature of my work. So I knew that this was what it is. When I remember myself, it was October. I was driving back home in my car, and it was such a beautiful autumn in Texas, which we don't have 4 seasons, but I looked at it as an autumn day, and I talked to God, and I said, "Okay, God, here you are. I'm 20 years in this field. It's my turn now. So I want to know, what do I feel?" I really wanted to take time aside and really feel that emotion. I really wanted to define that emotion. What is it that I feel this moment that I know I'm going to have cancer? I have cancer. This cancer is in me. It probably grow who knows how many years. What do I really feel? And of course, it was like in a fraction of a second, I saw this millions, hundreds of patients that I impact in 20 years, and everybody was giving me the feedback, what they felt that day that they found out that they had cancer. And I just kind of took my my hand and I said, I don't want any of this. I want to know what I feel right now. So what I felt, I said, if my life starts now, not now, you're going to know how old I am, 55, right? Not 55 years ago. My life starts today. And let's look back in time. I realized that God prepared me for today all my life. When I realize that, I start crying, and I don't cry easily. I cry only when I feel an abundance of God over me. And I felt that, oh my God, you're so right. You prepare me from day one. My father is a physicist. He put physics in my blood. I become a physicist. I become a doctor in physics in industrial field, but I felt like I'm suffocated. I did not like to talk to a machine. I wanted to talk to a patient. So I went and seek medical physics. I retrained myself after millions of years in school. That's how I felt. I didn't care. I went back to school. I got my medical certification. I became a certified medical physicist, doctor, and I went into oncology, and I felt like this is my call. It's to care for people, especially facing cancer. And then doing something I was passionate, interaction of radiation with biological tissue. This is something fascinating for me. And then I God gave me 20 years of building up this force, this positivity towards cancer, okay? So it was an aha moment. I was like, wow, my life was not meant to be built as a medical physicist. My life was medical physicist in oncology was to prepare me for today. So that was what builds my statement to say, I am blessed to have cancer. And how many people have the chance to work with cancer, get the cancer? So I feel I'm coming home when I walk in the infusion room to sit on the infusion room chair and get all this chemotherapy in my arm or in my port. I feel like I'm home.
Mm.
And to respect to my field is everybody. It wasn't like, okay, wow, Dana got cancer. They didn't do anything special to me compared with another patient out there. So I am so proud of my care providers, my colleagues, my traditional medical field, and I will never talk bad about it. Or a lot of time you see this kind of traditional medicine, holistic approach, this don't come together. I want to be the link. I want to tell you guys it's possible to use both worlds successfully. Now, of course, there are people that choose one versus another, or that's their choice. And I want you to be comfortable. Whatever choice you pick, I want you to look into your heart. I want you to resonate with that decision because it's a partnership. Like me and Anne, for instance, I absolutely adore her. So when I saw her on my screen, I'm like, oh, I'm connected with this person. I'm going to believe everything she says because it was that kind of connection. And I want you guys to be connected to your provider to that level.
Well, I adore you too, Dana. And
Oh,
when I tell you that you're an inspiration, I mean that. And what you've just shared really shows and displays how much of an inspiration you are. To be able to have the attitude you had when you got your diagnosis, I mean, that is unusual. Most people, when they hear the C word, when they hear cancer, it is a total opposite reaction to what you experienced with your own diagnosis. And so I think we all have a lot to learn from you in perspective and how we look at the things that we experience in this life, even when those things can be considered negative. I'm really curious. You talk about this link between conventional medicine and holistic, and having been in oncology and being a medical physicist, you know, you're very much in that conventional medicine world. What connected you to us? How did you make that decision to bring these two worlds together? I love that you did it. I know Dr. V does too. And we're always telling people holistic care complements conventional care. And really, when you can have both, you've got it all at your fingertips. And so, what helped you connect those dots, or what inspired you to even consider something in the holistic world?
Well, for people that know me, they always kind of put a nickname on my head that one of my doctors said, your column must be so clean, like you never eat anything. Well, okay, I'm not sure about that one. So I always strive to look at what I'm eating, because to me, our body functions like a car. You put the wrong gasoline in, your car is not going to work. I don't care what it is. And we constantly put that on and on and on and on. So I'm a huge nutrition advocate. And I am, through my support group that I lead, I'm so baffled of the little knowledge people have about nutrition. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm originally from Romania. I grew up there. Actually, this year was as many years I spent in that country as many years I spent in this country. So I am so grateful for my roots. I come from a very simple environment. I understand the value of the ground, what provides for you. I mean, my grandparents had a little farm. We cherish every single little green onion that would grow out of the ground, because that was it. So if you don't put your work in it, your love in it, you're not going to eat. So for me, growing up in that environment, we cherish everything from livestock to plants to the air, to the rain, to God, that we couldn't talk back when I grew up in the communist area. So it was, and I know I have a couple of friends that attend this meeting. One of them in particular, Camelia, we're both gonna climb Kilimanjaro. That's why I'm sorry I cannot attend October meeting, but the day that you have the meeting, we're gonna wave from the top of Kilimanjaro. It's gonna be our summit day, so we can't wait. So yeah, so that background really helped me to continue to believe in these roots. So in America, when I came, I was amazed by the abundance of foods that are here and the large quantity that people are eating. I remember my brother took me to one of those all-you-can-eat kind of restaurant, a Golden Corral, I think. And I've never seen that much food in one setting, period. And so I love those backgrounds. I love my roots because it constantly reminds me to be grateful. And by the way, to be grateful, it's one of the secret weapons that you can use in your life to overcome any kind of challenges that you're going to face. I don't care about what challenge it is. But believe me, there is always a worse story than yours. I remember this dear patient of mine. He said a very inspirational story. He said he was advanced cancer stage and very little prognosis. But that's where the power of the mind takes over. Because in cancer, it's that much that the providers can do for you. The rest of the work, it's up to you. And remember that cross point. Which way do I take? Do I take the negative of the cancer? That's all you're going to see, negativity. If you're going to program your mind, I'm going to go to the negative path. That's all you're going to see, believe me. But if you say, no, this is just another challenge. I don't care if I'm stage 4. I don't care. I'm going to do the best I can every day, because the end, it's programmed not by my doctor, but it's programmed by God and by your faith in your success. And if your success is another month, then be it. Because this stage 4 cancer patient that I had, they inspire me to the core. They say, you know what? 1 month of high quality living, high spiritual living, it would equivalent of 20 years of nothing. So do your best, because you do not know the end. And so I was impressed with their story, because this man, stage 4 cancer, he goes to pick up some groceries and he lost so much weight, and he reaches out on the top shelf to pick something. And when he puts it in a cart, his wedding ring fell off of the ring because he lost so much weight. And he was down on the floor somewhere. And immediately he's overwhelmed by all this, oh my God, I lost so much weight. Oh my God, my wedding ring. You can make a big story out of it in a negative way. And then he bent down to pick up his wedding ring. And when he stood up, the first thing that he saw was this poor young kid that was paralyzed in a wheelchair. And one of his family caregiver was moving him around, and he was all, he barely could be called a live human being. And right there, this cancer stage 4 patient said, you know what? God, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this many years in his life, that I was able to have a family, that I know what it is to be a father, a husband. And now, I've been through my life, but this poor child has not been. So you always can find positivity in anything.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Talk a little bit, Dana, about what you thought when you saw our masterclass. What made you think, this resonates with me. I need to do this. What was your initial take on our masterclass?
And which masterclass was it? Because we have a couple of different ones.
It was a summit. You were invited with other practitioner doctors. It was all onto interactive medicine. And I joined, but I joined into a moment because, see, I went through chemotherapy. So I am stage 2 cancer, breast cancer. I chose to do mastectomy on my left side with no reconstruction. So yes, I'm a unicorn. Hello for everybody that is a unicorn out there. I'm very proud to be a unicorn. and I still felt pretty good after chemo. I still had enough energy to do some of my hobbies. I love to run. I love to climb mountains. So yes, that was the first time I climbed Kilimanjaro, 4 months after my chemo. But then I had some sort of a grace period between my last chemo and getting on the preventive cancer treatments with the estrogen blocker pill. And that pill kind of put the cap on me. I start having so many side effects, a lot of body inflammation, a lot of, everything was out of balance. And of course, it could have been the cumulative effects of the chemo on the same time with the pill that I was taking. So I was hurting really bad, and I was turning around. My chemo doctor, very supportive. My whole care team, extraordinarily supportive. They know I'm a little bit out of the box, and I want to look for more answers out there. So they always been supportive to me. And I said, this does not work for me. So she moved me to a different brand. Same, worse and worse and worse. And the inflammation would move. It wasn't like fixed in one spot of my body. Now it would be in my shoulders, then it would be in my hips, then it would be in my knees. Brain fog and all these other things that traditional chemo side effects on a long term or short term. And when I was talking about what can I do, they would either give me anti-inflammatory pills, or they would say, well, you know what, you just been through cancer, just suck it up, take this thing for 5 years. And when I say they, it was internet, so I'm searching on internet. It wasn't like one person or anything like that. It was just like the information that it was getting to me when I was seeking for more answers. So I came across the summit, and I heard you talking about it, and I heard you talking about your program, and it answers so many of my hidden questions. For instance, I knew that down to the end of cancer, the reason you get cancer is your immune system, period. Your immune system, something happened to it. It gets weakened up for millions of reasons out there, and is not able to recognize the cancer cells. And the cancer cell finds a proper, place in your body, maybe some old infection, or in my case was a fibrocystic disease. So it has already a precondition somehow or another, and it starts forming, and your immune system is failing to identify it and kill it. This is bottom line. And my focus was how to increase my immunity, my immune system, how to, and what factors contributes to that. So I learned really quickly that, heavy metals, big one. And some like microbiome. You were talking a lot about the gut and the unbalance, good bacteria versus bad bacteria. And then I said, okay, I think I'm on the right path, but now here's the thing. I don't want to be in the front of somebody that tells me, well, based on this article, based on these statistics, we're going to treat you like this. I wanted a program that offers customized data. I'm a scientist again. Data is everything for me. And I'll tell you guys, when you see this report of data, and on the top is your name on, oh my God, it brings so much awareness into your life that even if you were not a believer, now you're going to become a believer. And so to me, data, so I got 5 things that I pick your program out of everything out there. Data was by far my biggest thing. And the amount of data that you guys are running is unbelievable. Literally, I printed everything out. I had 100-page of data on me, Dana. There's nothing about statistics. There's nothing about literature. There is nothing about none of that. This is data that is coming from me. And I said, okay, so here's the thing. You get this data. everybody's banana about the data. Okay, well, sign me up. I want to, let me talk to them. I want this. But I said, well, wait a minute. You need to understand one thing. You're going to get 100 page of this data that maybe you're going to recognize 10% of the things that are in there. You're going to be scared to death because a lot of your stuff is on red or orange or yellow. And you made a statement into your summit. You said, you know, is almost 100%. And that's another thing that I was sold for your program. You said almost 100%, we're going to find something that is not good in your body. And I was like, wow, I really need to get this data. And so, okay, so now, well, here's the thing. What do you do with it? You need a program that runs the data and then has the team to lead you step by step. And it's not one person. Because, in a traditional medicine, you go out there, you see a doctor, and then you kind of get stuck with that person because you run a ton of tests or whatever. And then you might say, well, the courageous one say, well, let me go to a second opinion. But there's a lot of work. And I kind of wanted to have a team, a team that kind of breaks that darkness of all that massive amount of data. What do you do with it? How do I fix that? It would take me a lifetime to take every red bar, go to the internet, get myself educated. And I think that's how you started, Dr. Villanueva. Your life story was kind of like that. And if you want to share some of that, because that was my selling point for you.
Yeah. It's how many of you have heard my story who are here joining us tonight? Put a 1 in the box if you know. Put a two if you've never heard it. Really, I want to focus on all of the inspiration that you have, and I think a lot of people have heard it, but I started looking for data because for those of you who haven't heard my story, I almost died. And the doctors didn't know. Unlike with Dana, they said, well, you have cancer. No, doctors were able to give me any kind of diagnoses. I had symptoms of a stroke. I had symptoms of complete aphasia and like really advanced dementia. I couldn't talk. I didn't know my son's name. This all happened in my late 30s. I didn't know my son's name. I didn't know the name of my practice anymore. I couldn't speak anymore. It was hard to even form a thought. And when I could form thoughts, I was in a panic mode because I realized what was happening. Like I was having short circuits. Like when I was cognizant of what was going on with me, I would just go straight into a panic mode because I couldn't talk. I couldn't remember things. And I was like, in my body, in my mind, when I could think, I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. I can't talk. I don't remember anything. I've got 3 practices and a son who's freaking out, who left to Alaska to go be with his dad. He didn't know what was going on. And I ended up losing 3 practices, 3 very successful practices, lost my house, lost everything in my house, and came this close to taking my life because the doctors didn't have answers, nor did they have any solutions. It was like, one doctor literally patted me on the head. I'm telling you, if that happened now, which it wouldn't happen now, but if that happened now, that doctor would get the biggest punch in the face. Do not, do that and tell a person, it's all in your head, honey. Here, take this Xanax and go home. You're just a stressed out single mom. No. Like we know as humans, we know when there's something deeply going on here, right? And yes, there was anxiety going on because I had what I thought was a stroke. But the doctors said, well, no, we don't see anything wrong with you. And the fact that I was bleeding heavily for over a year the doctor's answers were, "Oh, well, let's just do a hysterectomy on you. Let's just cut it out," and then I had all of this anxiety and depression because I kept getting sicker and sicker. And so the next thing was there was a doctor who said, "Well, you might have bipolar. Let's put you on Lamictal. Do you know what Lamictal is? Do any of you know what Lamictal is? It's one of the one of the strongest drugs. It's one of the strongest antipsychotic drugs you can put a person on." And it's just like, I look back and I was just like, of course, if you're sick, and then, and my dad, who was a physician, had passed away. So I didn't have anyone to help me, right? I didn't feel or believe that I had anyone to help me and be my advocate. And so, I was so sick and I was going downhill really, really quickly, physically and mentally. And I was going to take my life. I'm writing a book right now. It should be out hopefully by October. But in there, the first chapter is my goodbye letter to my son. So that, that's how we start, because you're just like with you, like this is what started my journey too, and looking for answers. And fortunately, some really amazing miracles happen in my life to give me just enough memory back, just enough brain capacity, um, and God put the right information in front of me, literally in front of me, that I just started following the breadcrumbs, and I slowly got myself better. But the first thing I did, that's very similar to what you talk about, the very first thing I did, and this was unconscious to me as to how powerful this particular medicine would be for me. But the very first thing I did, with I won't go into the story of how I even became aware of this, but I started paying attention to the present moment.
Yes.
I let go of the stories.
Yes.
I let go of the past. I let go of the fear of the future. I let go of everything that had happened to me. And I just sat there and I listened to my breath, and I looked outside and looked at the sunlight outside. And then from there, I started speaking to myself in mantras of love, and catching myself when I would go into a story of, "Oh my God, I lost everything. I'm living in my car. I'm dying, blah, 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 blah. Like this is going to be tragic. My son's going to grow up without a mother," like all the things. And I just started thinking positive. And that was the most powerful medicine of everything I did. And that was the first thing I did. And it didn't cost me anything. It was free. And that is one of the many things that we teach when we take people through our programs, is your belief systems, what you believe about yourself and the world around you. You do have all the ultimate control over your mind. You may not
Absolutely.
feel like you do if your mind has been the monkey mind, and it's taken over for years and taken you down the wrong path. It might be hard to do, but it's doable, and it's the most powerful medicine that you have in your healing and your health and long-term vitality in your life.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Because, I just heard this concept. I went to a wonderful class, and she was talking about our primitive brain. A lot of this is trigger into your primitive brain that you are used to hunt, to defend yourself. And a lot of time people are just living into that lizard brain, primitive brain, and not able to come out and use the thought, use the what we are today, a developed human being, to realize you are not in a box. You have to constantly look outside and search for that solution that works for you. And that's what I did. I mean, I constantly was on internet, and I know they say don't overdo when you are going through cancer. Don't believe everything. Completely agree. Have some common sense when you are hitting that massive amount of information and all these friends around you. Hey, you should do this or this or this. Again, look deep down, like Dr. Villanova said, she just let go. And the only thing for her was her own power that was inside of her. And that's the only thing that's going to lead you step by step, step by step. And and pick what makes sense for you. So data was huge. Team. Okay. Now I'm coming to the team. The program has these fantastic human beings. It has some job roles titles that I never heard in working in traditional medical field, like an energy coach. I was like, okay, so what is an energy coach doing? A biological coach, which is Anne. What is a biological coach doing? And so the terminology was so different than my background where I come from. But I was anxious. I was so hungry for all this information that it's not what I'm reading on an everyday basis. I wanted to know the other side. And I wanted to see, because the bridge is on both sides of the river. So I was only on one side. Now I want to know this other world. What is that other world offering? And then combine the two. That's how I wanted to do it for me. For other people, it might work a little different. And so I think my first conversation was with Dr. Tim. And Dr. Tim plays his magic role in my life because, number one, he explained very thorough the whole intricacy of the program and how it works. And of course, I was probably annoying him. But am I gonna get the data? Yes, you're gonna get the data. But am I? No. Am I gonna get something? So I was keep asking about data because that was my big thing. And then he asked me, what do I like to do? Like my hobbies. And I said, I like to run, but I can't do this anymore. I was walking with my dogs and I had to look for a cane to come back home. The inflammation was so deep into my body. And that's when I said, I cannot live like this for 5 years. Think about 5 years living with this kind of inflammation. What else is going to start going down to a point that you might not be able to fix really easily? So I need to do something now. And that's kind of, I pour my heart to Dr. Tim, and Dr. Tim said, hey, do me a favor. While you think about joining this program, go for a walk. And when you come back, take your shoes off and walk for 10 minutes barefooted in the ground. I said, well, I'm in Texas, fire ants and all this. He said, just do this. And just that element, and I know some of you might not believe in this, but again, I'm a physicist, and I know we are electrical system, energetic system. Tell me one time in 1 week or in 1 day that you ground yourself. Grounding yourself is walking barefooted directly on the ground. Every energetic system has to ground themselves to work properly. We don't. So when he reminded me this, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm signed up because I'm going to learn not only how to deal with data, but also this kind of holistic approach of life, which I am completely in love because it brings me back to my roots. And I said, right there, Dr. Villanueva with her statements, 100%, we're going to find something. And she also says something that I was very intrigued. And nobody else pointed that out to me in all my readings. She said, how many of you, and I'm going to say your words exactly, how many of you, raise your hand. I was driving and my hands were both out of my wheel. Thank goodness I have on a smart car that can drive by itself. And she said, how many of you, raise your hand, struggle with weight management? She said, and you've done everything. You've done all the diets that you can do, and you still cannot lose it. Or if you lose it for a little bit and then it comes right back. How many of you do that? So I'm like, whoa, right here, me. And then she said, well, that's probably because you are so freaking toxic. And then you should be actually grateful to your fat, because your fat surround the toxicity in your body and kind of traps it into your fat, not letting it roam around into your system. And then another thing you mentioned, you said a real detox program is not something you commercially buy on Amazon for 3 days or 5 days a week. And then you go out there and then you buy it and then you go home and, oh, let me just detox my liver. And then probably you're going to be sick for 3 days because it's probably going to give a lot of diarrhea and some other issues. And really, to me, those are like a colon cleanser. That's pretty much all of what it does. So a real detox program, again, 55 years, I accumulated this toxicity. Do you really think in 3 days you're going to get rid of it? No, there's impossible. It's a common sense. It takes months to get rid of that. So those things are the elements that I was so intrigued about you and look you up and saw Modern Holistic, got an appointment with Dr. Tim, and Dr. Tim told me to walk barefooted, and I was like, okay, I'm in. It might be just a simple element, but my heart was sold. And then I start getting the packages of tests. And guys, I'm telling you, if you pick a program out there, and if you like me, super busy, what are you going to do? You're going to do all this 100-page of testing, wasting a lot of time running around to this clinic or to this lab or to whatever. No. This program, it's so easy. It sends your samples or your data that you need to your test into this. I took, I think, 4 tests into this really nice boxes. It almost feels like you get an iPhone, and they are so well designed, very easy to follow instruction. You do it at home. I think I had to go to 2 of them to the closest blood drawn. I think it was LabCorp in my case, and then another one but that one could be a mobile service. It's all into your local area. It could be, you can be anywhere in the country, and you get these packages at home. They come up with labels, you return them through FedEx. It's so easy. 2 weeks later, whatever, you get your data. They send it through the program or through your email. So that's convenience to me. Love it. For people that are busy, exceptional. The team now, when you start talking to the coaches, your biological coach, your energy coach, and so forth, I can't say enough about the team. Like, if anybody talked to Anne or Rosita or Dina, phenomenal women, phenomenal human beings. And the way they talk is not like, well, let me see. Well, I think, no. This is what you need to do, period. They have confidence. They know exactly their role. And that confidence comes through you. And you will feel it straight into your heart, or at least that's how I felt it. I was sold. I believe everything they told me, and I was ready to go. They so I think they are extremely professional, very, very knowledgeable, and to the point that I remember myself taking my reports to work and show it to some of my providers, and they were absolutely amazed about the volume of the data, the knowledge, and the reports are so well written. They have color coded. You know exactly what is wrong with you. So, for instance, in my case, let me see. I got before the program highly environmental contamination. Well, right there is enough reason that answer my question, why did I get the cancer when I'm so careful eating the right thing? But guess what? Have you forgot about mold in your house? Or maybe at work? Have you forgot about contaminated water that you might drink? And guess what? Dana had a huge line read on arsenic. I was poisoned with arsenic on a daily basis. And Dr. Villanova showed me, she said, hey, you know, arsenic half-life is 10 hours. You know what that means? That means you are poisoned on a daily basis. That freaked me out. I was like, oh my God, where do I get this stupid thing? And it was in my water. So guess what? Now I'm coming to answer number 4 line, a question of today topic is how is this, what do I learn from this? Well, one thing is I'm helping not just me, but my family. So our whole house has 6 type of water filters right now. I tested my water. There is absolutely no arsenic whatsoever. But hey, where do I stay all day long? I'm not at home. So what I start doing for the past year, I get let me see where it is. Yeah, I got one of this. I don't know if you can see it. It's a stainless steel 64-ounce container that I carry my water from my osmosis at home, and that I know is certified free of arsenic, and I've been drinking this exclusively. 6 months later when I retest, my arsenic is completely gone. The BPA completely gone. Because what? You know what? I am living in Texas, and all the water, the plastic water bottles, or the big jugs like Sparklet or Zarka, they are stored in big warehouses where it's hot. So they are leaking automatically BPA in the water. And
Plus it's in our well water, it's in our municipal
Yes.
water, it's in the air we breathe, like the BPA, the plastics are everywhere. So really quick, your toxin labs showed complete elimination of BPA in 6 months.
Yep.
So this is exciting because Anne and I have been working on reformulating our supplement line. So one of the missions of BioOne Sciences, which was founded by Greg and myself, with Anne playing a huge role in this, about 2.5 years ago, one of our missions was to fix a problem that we see in the holistic industry. So I'm just going to take a little sidewinder here, if it's okay, Dana.
Yeah.
Supplement protocols typically are 20 bottles or more of supplements. We've seen clients come to us having seen some of the top holistic doctors in the country to the tune of $1,000 a visit, $1,500 for a first visit. And they're spending well over $1,000 a month on their supplements, and they probably spent 10 grand on their initial labs. And no joke, I have pictures of this. We've had clients send us 35, 45 bottles, 50 bottles, 70, I think 76 bottles is the biggest protocol we've ever seen. And these people, like they don't have time to do anything else during their day. Well, Anne and I have seen this as an issue for years. In fact, when I saw Anne, my protocols, they were never that big, but they were bigger. Like, I don't know, Anne, did I sometimes maybe send you home with like 15 different bottles of things? because that's how we're trained in the industry. And it does work, but it's not sustainable for most people. That's a lot of stuff. When you get in, when, only in certain cases anymore do we have someone taking up to 15 different things. Very rare in some cases. But our protocols have been designed where, that you can actually fit a lot more into one capsule.
Oh,
Has
yes.
anybody ever wondered that? Raise your hand if you've ever had like a protocol that you put together yourself or a doctor put it together for you, or you're just researching supplements. And have you ever wondered, can they not just put more things at a therapeutic dose into one pill? I wonder that. And I mean, I wonder that not just as a consumer, but as a doctor too. And I saw this as a problem. It's going to drive down compliance because it's too expensive and they're taking pills all day long and they're choking on their pills and they don't have any room left in their stomach to eat afterwards. And it's expensive. And after a couple of months, they just can't do it anymore. What happens when it drives down compliance? It drives down the results. And so I started setting out to do this about 7 years ago, but it took a long time for us to get to that point where we were ready to launch BioOne Sciences. Do you know that this one, our flagship product, which by the way, it used to take 9 months on average to get those toxins you had in your body, including BPA, is hard to get out. An
Yes.
average of 9 months. An average of 9 months. You got yours out in 6. That's from this new formulation combined with the other things that are in our protocol that we're giving you. But MCM Detox is the equivalent of 4 bottles of stuff. And these other 4 bottles, 2 of the 4 bottles actually had several things in one capsule, but still not enough, not everything. This is 4 different bottles to the tune of well over $400 that our clients used to have to buy 4 bottles of stuff to the tune of around $400 a month, not including their methylation supplements and their omega and the other stuff that they needed. And so when I started doing my research and I got with manufacturers and scientists to talk about it, I'm like, can we put more in a capsule? And they're like, yeah. And then I was like, oh my gosh, my suspicions were right. It's all about consumerism. They would rather you buy any company, right? They would rather you buy 5 bottles and spend $500 making you think that you got to buy all these bottles so that you can put this protocol together, but you can put it into one. I have therapeutic doses of all the ingredients in here. So just a little plug for BioOne and our mission to bring cost down and make it easier. It's easier to swallow 2 pills 3 times a day of this than it was to do all the pills that are now in one bottle. But our formula, I've been changing it. So I've changed it twice now, and we're getting ready to roll out another improvement. Each time is just an improvement. And Anne and I have been seeing, and now you're verifying this for us once again, we've been seeing that our data is shifting, and the average time that used to be 9 months on average to get all the toxins out, whether it's metals, plastics, mold, whatever. And we know that some metals can take longer, like aluminum, lead, those can take longer, but we're seeing that the time has been shortened with our new formulations. We're seeing a 6-month average now. And so that's exciting to hear that from you. I didn't know that.
And but still you have to also realize it depends on you, your lifestyle that you start choosing,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
so number one, I invested a lot of money in my house filtration water system. I wanted to have at least one freaking source of water that I can trust, because I can carry water. That's not a problem. It's not like I walk with a big jug. So the 64 ounce of water in a stainless steel, remember stainless steel, get rid of all the plastic around, get rid of heating stuff in the microwave with plastic cap, or, I've seen so many people eating with plastic forks because it's convenient, or drinking hot beverages in plastic things. So eliminate that. That's going to accelerate your detoxing on a BPA level. and
Yeah.
invest some money, because it's not just going to help you, but your family too. So my house now has filtration water, not only for drinking, but also for cooking, for washing my laundry, for toilets, for everything in my house. It's filtered water now. I
Yeah.
can trust that.
It's
But
about it's about reducing your exposures. And so,
yes,
you know, I'm so glad that you're bringing that up because that's the first thing that we teach in month one. And if a person's working with us one-on-one and they're not also doing our group, all of the additional resources that we have in our group program, they hear it then personally from our biological coaches. It's like, here are the toxins in your body. And yes, we can give you our line of protocols that are going to get this stuff out, but you have to reduce your exposure because you can't keep putting it in and then we're trying to get it out. That's like you're in a boat that you forgot to plug the hole in the boat and it's taking
yes.
in water. And you can keep scooping out water only for so long before the boat sinks because you keep bringing it back in. And so reducing exposure is absolutely paramount to your healing and being able to detox your body. Otherwise, you're just wasting money. And we tell people, like, spend the money to get your house tested. And that's something that we've got some new news on that Anna's going to be bringing on. We met this amazing woman, Caroline Blazowski, and she has made it her mission to help people to have affordable testing for their house, for their water, for their air, to test for mold, to test for VOCs, all of the things inside of a house. And she has a test kit that people, that she'll send to your house, and you collect all the samples and send it into the lab, and it tests the air for VOCs, it tests the house for mold, it tests the water for all the toxins, it does all that. And it's less than $500 for this test. Mold testing alone can range $700 to $800 just for a mold test, which she gets so upset about it. She's like, they're ripping people off because it like on the back end, it hardly cost the lab company anything to do this. And so thanks for bringing that up. We absolutely have to be just as serious about being our own detective to figure out where we were getting exposed as we do taking our protocols to get the current toxins out. I wanted to.
And same thing for mold. Mold is same thing.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Environmental contamination, it was pretty big for me, and not just arsenic and BPA, but that was really jumping in my eyes. I had unbalanced microbiome. I wish I would have find you guys before starting the chemo. If somebody starts a cancer journey, I highly recommend run a baseline of what you are right now before you go into chemo. It would really give you so many it's just like anything baseline, you would have something to compare, because right now I don't know if my microbiome is unbalanced because of my chemotherapy, or it was unbalanced because of just too
Yeah.
much toxicity in my body.
Well, do you know what? I can talk a little bit around that.
Mhm.
This is something that we teach in our practitioners courses, and we do teach this to the public as well. But it's very likely that you already had a dysbiosis in your microbiome long before you got the cancer, because what the research that the holistic world has been doing shows that immune auto issues with our immune system, when our immune system starts to go awry, it happens secondary to long-term leaky gut. What causes leaky gut in the first place? Antibiotics,
Mhm.
mold, chemical toxins, right? Like different kinds of medications, certain foods, if we're eating processed foods, alcohol can cause dysbiosis. Like, so all of these things do it. And then once you got on the chemo, it took what was already unstable and made it worse.
Yes, yes,
So
completely.
you're right. It would be great if we had the baseline labs. Like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I mean, for case studies and data collection,
Yeah.
it would be amazing. But it's very likely that you already had that for years before this developed, because cancer, I know in the medical world, they can sometimes make it sound like it can happen overnight, but really this stuff it's setting the stage to happen probably
Yes.
20 years before it actually happens.
Completely. I completely agree with that, 100%. When people a lot of time at the support group, they say, well, why did I get cancer? I've been eating right, I've been exercising. But really, I have a list here of at least 27 items that nowadays are everywhere on the internet or whatever that can cause cancer. So the traditional genetic, are you smoking, drinking, that kind of stuff, that's like really not even on the top of the list anymore, because you will have a 94-year-old man that is smoking every day and he's still alive. And you saying, well, how is that happening? Well, that 94 grew up in a civilization that was not so toxic. He came from parents that were even more purified environment, if you put it that way. So his whole immune system is so strong to fight, whatever the tobacco might produce into his body. But he's much stronger than this new generation that are born in toxicity. So the toxicity, remember, your skin is the largest organ. How much stuff do we put on our skins every day? How many of you look at the ingredient of the bar of soap that you are using, or the shampoo, or things like that, and you might say, oh my God, are you a germaphobe? No, I'm not. But these things are cumulative. And maybe if everything else is perfect, maybe a bar of soap will definitely not give you big issues. But the thing is, everything is adding up nowadays.
Yeah.
And then when you put
Absolutely.
poor nutrition, stress, all this stuff, a glyphosate, I had wood smoke, pollution, pesticides, coal fire plants, radon, UV rays, engine exhaust, and so forth and so forth. There's a ton of stuff that can cause things. And the microbiome is huge to play a role of detoxing you on a natural way. How many of you are sleep deprived? You don't even think about sleep quality. Just because I have 8 hours of sleep, that doesn't mean you are having a quality sleep. So remember, during your sleep, your body detoxing. But if you have a chronic sleep deprivation, that's going to influence all your biological processes in your body. So there's so many factors that plays into defining this startup of your cancer. So another thing that they found on me that nobody ever pointed out, I was found that I'm gluten intolerant. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Me, gluten intolerant, but I don't have symptoms, I said. Oh, yeah, you do. Bloating, craving,
Inflammation.
inflammation. Yes, absolutely. How many of you know exactly what gluten is? Not that many people, I found out. And Anne helped me out to decipher some of these gluten issues. And I'm so grateful. She organized this gluten class that I enroll in it. And I was so amazed with the amount of information that she put together. I had no idea there are over 300 side effects of gluten intolerance or gluten sensitivity. And that was enough for me to say, I'm done. I'm going to be gluten-free from now on. So for the next, until today, so in August when I started, I'm still gluten-free today, or I'm doing my best. And I know sometime when you start to be gluten-free, you might find all kind of issues with that, but you just have to be patient because your body is going through detoxing. When you go to detoxes, is not necessarily means that tomorrow you're going to feel good. Actually, you're going to go through bad before you go into good. So just, kind of tune with your body and be patient with it. My cardiovascular system was messed up pretty bad. My total cholesterol before the program was anywhere between 250 to 46. My LDL was almost 160. A week ago, I did my cholesterol again. So my total cholesterol now is 194 and LDL 115. I know it's still a work in progress. Again, this is not gonna cure you, or it takes time. It really takes time. And once that you understand that, you don't pressurize yourself. You just take one day at a time and do the best and see how well you feel. But I have no more pain in my body. Maybe if I push too hard because I'm still taking my estrogen blocker, I still have some, hip pain or things like that. But I kind of learn where my limit is, how much to push myself to not get to that point. But Rosita, my energy coach from the program, she's amazing. We figure it out that probably my body is on level anymore because remember I removed one breast, I still have the other one, so I'm much heavier on one end than the other. So that really shifts a lot of your stress that you put on certain joints. So I ordered me some of those elevated kind of shoes inserts that are custom made. I found out that I have flat feet. I mean, there's so much knowledge that I gain following this program. The I don't have any more bloating. The cravings are gone. I'm start managing my weight, but again, remember I have to be on this estrogen blocker for 5 years. So there's a lot of things that I really cannot clear at this point until my hormones are balanced again. My adrenaline gland, where if there can be something below zero, that's where I was. Dr. Villanueva has a great supplement to kind of a little bit bring back some of the adrenaline functionality. So that's where what the program did for me in this time. And I have to tell you, of course, I talk so much about this. My husband said, "Hey, I want to be tested too." So he was feeling pretty bad before getting tested. I work with that's the number 3 point of why I choose this program: customer service. You always find somebody. It's not like you are sending an email in the air and nobody gets back to you. Tara is awesome. You just send an email, she immediately sends you back a reply, works with you, arrange your schedules, arrange your appointments. She's awesome. So data team customer service, beautiful property of this program. Love it.
I
Number
will
four.
say this. I will say this, and I appreciate that. We do the best we can. We're human just like everybody else. And sometimes we get busy and we can get a little bit backed up. But thank you for acknowledging that. I'm sure Tara really appreciates that too. Every now and then we may get somebody who gets upset because we can't get back to them soon enough, which is relative. But, we are, for as many people as we see around the world, we have people in 18 different countries. And we get pretty busy, especially when we're in the middle of a masterclass launch where we're doing, we'll have 20,000 people that are watching it at one time, and we get a lot of reach out. But thank you for acknowledging that, because we do the best we can. And we are human. We're not all AI working behind the scenes where we can answer in 5 seconds, so it does take a little bit of time for us to do that. And I acknowledge that. I wanted to take you in a different direction just a little bit because we've got a few more minutes left, but I wanted to hit about, how you feel after a year in the program, and maybe to bring it into perspective. And it's totally okay if you say no to this, but I did grab a snapshot of your symptom sheet to put onto a slide if we wanted to share it. And if we don't, that's fine. We can just go verbally and talk about it. But I know you had, you mentioned the inflammation, and you are at a really high pain scale with the discomfort on that. And it's at a 0 now. But in addition to the inflammation, which you mentioned a few times, you also had things like brain fog,
Oh,
decreased
yes.
memory recall, you had bloating after meals, you had trouble staying asleep. How are all of these symptoms? How are you doing now after all this time, about a year of working with us? Can you speak a little bit more to those specific symptoms?
So, yeah, no, unless I'm working 16 hours a day, I mean, my brain, I need my brain like air because, the nature of job that I do. So, it's not, I don't feel like I have brain fog anymore. This is one of the common cause of going through chemo. My energy, well, I'm getting ready to climb another mountain, so I think I'm pretty good on that. No more pain. Cravings are down. My cholesterol, like I mentioned, it's all stable. A lot of these contaminants in my body are better, but it's work in progress. Like you mentioned, mold, aluminum, it's pretty hard to completely clear. And but it's definitely a trend, because that's another beautiful thing about the program. You get retested, and so you will have all these graphics showing you the progress. So I like that. And yeah, no, I think I'm so much better than where I was a year ago, for sure.
Oh my God, that's amazing. And then what if you're going to share some key takeaways? You've given so much wisdom and so much inspiration. And everyone who's listening, everyone who's here, please, let's put a 1 in the box if you feel inspired by the opportunity to get to sit with us and listen to Dana for this live show. I mean, I just feel super inspired. I'm going to be getting off the call and probably dancing my way downstairs to the grandbabies. It makes me so happy. This is why we do what we do. And so to get to hear all of this from you is just, it's so beautiful, and it's such a blessing to us. But I feel even most and foremost, it's a blessing to other people. And you're getting a lot of beautiful comments in here. What are some of the key takeaways that you could share with people, even if it's just one key takeaway? What is a, at least one key takeaway you can leave everyone with for inspiration in their healing journey as well?
Just live outside the box. Don't just limit yourself to the traditional recipe, or just seek knowledge. And to me, this is the definition of modern holistic program. Modern holistic equal knowledge and awareness. Because once that you see your name on that report and the red bars, I promise you, you will look at things so much different than if you hear on the mass media, hey, don't drink out of a plastic bottle. You won't connect with that. But when you're going to see your data, your awareness now is highly exponentially increased. You're going to think differently. And I hope you do the program. I hope you are experiencing these wonderful people that are here to help you and making you feeling better. I mean, I promise you will feel better, at least in one area, you know. So thank you so much, Dr. Villanova, and thank you all that are behind you to support you and make this program something that is accessible to everybody.
Thank you so much. And I want to see pictures of your next climb. I'm super excited about that. You know,
Yes.
if you get an opportunity to when you're done with the climb, you know, if we're still, or even if you're at base camp, if you get a chance, I'll give you my number. You reach out to me. I wanna see you in action on FaceTime. I want to see you and cheer you on. And I'm so proud of you. I'm just like, wow. So you are an inspiration to all of us, and thank you for sharing your story. You know, thank you for being an advocate. First of all, thank you for just giving us an opportunity to be able to work with you, and and then for being an advocate and speaking up about how this work is transforming lives, including your own. We love you so much, and
Thank you so much.
we can't wait to have you back on our show and share more wisdom, because you have so much wisdom to share.
Thank you so much. And thank you everybody that's been on a call. Thank you so much. And just have faith, because there is a better you inside of you. All what you need to do is look and open that gate and let it free, because it's there. It's just waiting for you to do that.
Thank you. We love you so much. We will
Thank you
talk
so
with
much.
everyone soon. We'll talk with everyone soon. Thank you for joining us for this live podcast show episode of Inner Circle. And be sure to go and register for the next ones. Check out our lineup at www.mhhinnercircle.com. You can register there, mhhinnercircle.com, and check it out, because we have a really great lineup coming up. And for any of you, I see a lot of names of clients who are working with us. If any of you would love to get up and share your wisdom, because you've got a lot to share, and your mess is really your message. Your mess is your message. It inspires other people, and there's no better way to really solidify the learnings and the wisdom that you've gained in your own healing process than to come on. And we would be honored to have you on our show as well. It doesn't always have to be full of doctors and other experts. You are an expert in your own right, because you are going through your own healing journey, and you will have a story and a message that will resonate with someone out there that can change their life. So thank you very much. We love you, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. God bless you all.